Garmagh, Minister, and I want to thank you for taking the time to for taking this question this week, because I know it's a matter of urgency. As you know, Minister, farmers are required to sign and submit their basic income support scheme forms by tomorrow, Thursday the 15th of May, in order to be entitled to receive their annual payments from the Department of Agriculture. Part of this submission is a declaration that the farmer is compliant with the GAEC practices on the farm. Just over a week ago, I met with the representatives from the IFA in Sligo, Leitrim and Roscommon, and these farmers, all thinkers who take their environmental and legal responsibilities seriously, wanted to draw my attention to the BIS submission date in a last-ditch hope, I suppose, that the Minister yourself might listen to my plea on their behalf. Most senators from rural constituencies such as Sligo, Leitrim, South Donegal will know at this stage that GAEC stands for Good Agriculture and Environmental Condition. GAEC regulation sets out a minimum environmental standards which must be adhered to. And as there are 9 GAEC standards in total, GAEC2 is the last to be imposed and relates to the protection of peatlands and the wetlands. As only approximately 20% of our landmass is thought to be carbon-rich or mineral soil, GAEC2 will not affect large swathes of the country, such as in eastern countries where the land is rich and well drained. It will, though, have it's a fear that a disproportionate, significant impact upon my part of the country. A lot of things that the farmers are being asked to do with things that they're totally comfortable with, no problem at all. For instance, ploughing of grasslands to a depth greater than 30 centimetres prohibited, and I'm told that there's no problem with this. And grasslands can only be reseeded once every 4 years. I understand again that this is considered standard practice. But GAEC2 allows for the maintenance of existing drains, but tightens up in the prohibition of digging new drains without planning permission on peat-rich soil. This is all very well as well, and the farmers that I spoke to from the IFA are struggling with 2 basic issues. Firstly is the definition of what constitutes peaty, carbon-rich and organic soils. And I suppose this is, Minister, what I'd like you to be able to provide, if you can, clarification in plain English about what constitutes a peaty soil. And are we able to agree on a single terminology for these soils? Are they peaty, are they carbon-rich or are they organic? I've heard all these 3 terms being used interchangeably, and as we all know, the multiple use of phraseology often leads to confusion, and misunderstanding. The current definition on the Department's website is that a peat soil is defined as organic soil materials which have sedimentary accumulation and have at least 30% organic matter over a depth of 45 centimetres on undrained land and 30 centimetres deep on drained land. You know all this, Minister, there's no need for me to go into this, but I suppose a couple of questions that have occurred to me is, dry mass is the mass of a biological sample once the water has been removed. An ordinary farmer is surely able to ascertain this, and is surely unable to ascertain this himself, and must be a job for a laboratory who can test the soil sample. Assuming this is correct, have soil samples on all land parcels throughout the state been taken? And the second issue that farmers are concerned with is what proportions of a farmer's land is classed as being peaty or carbon-rich. As a 6:15 yesterday evening, the Department website issues that the Department's in the process of writing to farmers subject to the standard. In the process, but the deadline for submission of the BIS forms is tomorrow. So will your department complete the process of writing to farmers? And if a farmer finds himself in the process of deciding whether GAEC2 applies to their land when the deadline expires and when they decide it doesn't, will they get paid? This leads me on, I suppose, to proportion that farmers, if a farmer leaves that and learns subsequently that a portion of their land is mineral or non-peaty soil, can they split their lands into portions? And this is a bone of contention that's come up a lot. The Department's website indicates that this will be possible in certain circumstances, but what are those circumstances? And should a farmer disagrees with the decision that all or part of their land is classed as peaty, what will be the process for lodging an appeal? I think they must have clarity, and these farmers that I spoke to, that they're not trying to upset the apple cart, they just want clarity, because I suppose there's nothing more uncertain to undermine a relationship than uncertainty. So I'm just asking our Minister if you could possibly grant our farmers the respect they deserve and pause the implementation and enforcement of GAEC2 for 1 more year. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank Senator Cosgrove for raising a really important issue, but giving me the opportunity here to put in the record of the House a reassurance to farmers. The farmers in your area, as there are all over the country, who are very concerned around GAEC2, and you've outlined those concerns, and I know from my colleagues here in Donegal and Kerry as well, those concerns are shared by farmers, and much of that is down to the fact that there has been stuff talked about that is nothing to do with GAEC2, which is a baseline conditionality for the BIS. So your BIS is what was known as a single farm payment. This is only linked to that. It's a baseline requirement for that. This was something we as a country signed up to in 2023. We got a derogation in 23 and 24. We sought a derogation for this year. So in relation to me giving an extra year, it's not in my gift. This is a decision of Europe. We asked for it and we were told no. We are dead in breach. If we don't implement a measurement, we are in breach and we would be subject to fines that would definitely be in the region of 100 million plus that would come out of my budget to support farmers. So I can't let that happen. So what we did was we engaged with the Commission. We looked to have a set of standards that is, because it's baseline, it shouldn't impact hugely in terms of what a farmer's day-to-day activity is. That's what we work towards and that's what we've got agreed. The reason the letters are going out at such short notice is when I came into this job on the 23rd of January, this wasn't signed. We hadn't made a submission. It was the first thing I was asked to do. I engaged with farm organisations and had a lot of consultation rather than just signing it, because I wanted to get my head around the issue and understand the extent of it, and to reassure you there was really detailed engagement and to make sure there was no other alternative, but also to reassure myself that the measures that are in the proposal won't change farmers' day-to-day activity and is a minimal entry element there. So at that point, I then sent a submission to the Commission to say this is what we wanted to do to put in place. Obviously, we had been having detailed engagement with key stakeholders like the farming organisations over the course of the last couple of years during that time. The Commission only approved our proposal on the 30th of April. So I couldn't write out to farmers. There's enough confusion. If I went right into farmers and say you might be in GAEC, you might not be, we know where the area is. I'll talk about the map and the points you've raised in a minute. But ultimately here, until we got approval that the Commission said we accept your proposal, that's when it triggered at the point for our letters to go. How do we come up with the areas? There are a number of existing peat maps that have mapped the whole country. Teagasc had the Hammond map from 2009, which is the one we have used and is the one, it's the best one to use here in this space. And what we did, we had to have a controllable area so that we can prove to the Commission that we are, have an area that we can control, that we can examine, and to make sure that the conditionality that's there is met. As I say, that conditionality doesn't change a farmer's day-to-day activity. It can continue to plough, to reseed, to maintain existing drains and even lay new drainage in GAEC2 parcel subject to existing planning legislation. Is that planning legislation, while it's been in place for 20 years, in effect, have people applied for planning when they were doing this drainage work previously on a day-to-day basis? Possibly not, and that's where some of the concern is. But I've got loads of queries from farmers who think, will this stop us getting planning permission for a house or a shed or something? It is completely separate. This is only in relation to applying for the single farm payment. All it is, your local planning authority doesn't know what parcel is GAEC2 and isn't. It's only between you and the department. But we have sent out the maps now. Anyone who is a GAEC2 farmer has received a map saying what land parcel under holding comes in under that. And the control area we had to come up with was, we proposed, and the Commission have accepted, that any land parcel that has 50% or more of peat. Now, it does bring in some mineral soils, but if we couldn't have less than 50% of peat in the land parcel. If we went for every land parcel that had any peat in it, it would have brought in another 800,000 hectares of mineral soils. So we think we've got the sweet spot here where we have the right balance between doing what we need to do to meet this baseline conditionality, allowing farmers to continue to have that day-to-day activity to be pretty much unhindered, and to make sure that there aren't a load of farmers going to be fined at the end of this process, which I am very confident there won't be.
And to welcome our visitors to the public gallery, and hope that you enjoy your visit to the Dáil and Shannon today. You're very welcome. Shannon Torr.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your reply. And I knew since the 30th of April that there was a lot of progress on it. But I'm delighted. Thank you for your reply on it. I can see, though, that I suppose there's still uncertainty. There's still the farmers that I represent are still uncertain, and I don't know how, between, if the deadline is for tomorrow for the submissions tomorrow, I don't know if something can be addressed tonight, because there is, I suppose there's, and I know that you've only taken over in your own brief, but is there some way that there will be full kind of guarantee that people are, I suppose that they're not feeling that they're going to be putting into something that they can't reverse? And I think I know the concerns was that if there, it's about the appeals process. There's no kind of clarity around that, and if there could be some clarity around if people want to make an appeal, there could be more clarity around that? Thank you.
Apologies, I didn't answer two of your earlier questions. One was on appeals and the other was on splitting the parcel. So farmers can split the parcel if there's a natural boundary like a wall or a hedge or something that's in an existing land parcel. They can just do that on the application. And there will be an appeals mechanism. But most farmers won't need to appeal this. This won't change their day-to-day activity. This doesn't have the change that's there. And in relation to the confusion that's there, I can understand why it's there. I understand how scared people are and concerned they are around nature restoration, around land designation. This isn't that. GAEC2 is not that. It is a baseline conditionality of just a single farm payment when you're applying for that. And in relation to consultation, my department consulted with the relevant stakeholders on proposed standards and with the NGOs. But also we have, once approval of the standard was received from the Commission, we wrote out to farmers straight away. My department has provided direct information to the farm advisory services, because obviously most farmers are putting in this application in consultation with their advisors, so those advisors have been briefed, and we had meetings with the public and private advisory service to ensure that requirements are fully understood, and my officials have attended a number of public meetings as well where concerns were raised from that, and my department officials continue to obviously attend those local meetings, and we will continue to answer farmers' questions as they've come to. And look, as I outlined already, and if I finish on this point, go here, like the standard will have minimal impact on the day-to-day operations of farms beyond what is already legally required anyway. In conclusion, there is no opportunity to further delay the introduction of GAEC2. To do so would put us in breach with no defendable case with the Commission, and would lead us open to very significant fines that would come out of the pot of money I have to support farmers. So I can't let that happen, because then I'm going to have less money to support our farmers on a day-to-day basis, and I can't let that happen. So I would like to reassure farmers that their concerns around GAEC2, there won't be farmers down the line facing loads of fines on this, because the day-to-day activity will not change.
Cormac O'Tara, and thank you. Okay, on Ní Dosach C 3, on Shanador Manus Boyle.